Let's get out to Doug Evans with this conviction, Doug, and what is next for this community and that family?
Hey, Tom, good afternoon, everybody. Listen, talk about a baby-faced gangster. Take a look at Kamarian Kendrick from his mugshot from a couple of years ago when Fox 5 originally covered this case back in 2023. Prosecutors would depict him in court as a stone-cold killer, unremorseful, even at trial, they told me today, and he will spend the rest of his life in prison for murder without the possibility of parole, and also 85 years tacked on to that. He's accused of killing Emmanuel Dorsey, a 14-year-old freshman at Spalding High back in 2023 after a rival football game there at the stadium in Griffin between Griffin High and Spalding High. Kendrick accused of opening fire on a group of people there and then going on the run for 8 days. The prosecutor told me today that he ditched the murder weapon during that time, but when they found him in Clayton County 8 days later, he had another weapon, this one capable of automatic fire, they said, had been modified, a semi-automatic handgun that had been modified to operate, they said, much like a machine gun. So this kid, he's now 19, will spend the rest of his life in prison. I talked to the prosecutor as well as the chief deputy prosecutor here, Kate Linhart, about the case just a few minutes ago.
I think the nature of the crime.
Dang, life plus 85 years at 19 years old. Craziness, man. So this apparently happened in around 2023, where this 19-year-old has been sentenced to life in prison for a murder at a rival football game. The two schools, Griffin and Spalding, they play every year. It's a rivalry, and apparently this kid shot into a crowd of people, ended up killing a 14-year-old freshman, and he's going to spend the rest of his life in jail, plus 85 years on top of that. So he'll never see the light of day with this current sentence. And it's just crazy because they said he ditched the murder weapon, but when he was caught with a weapon that had a switch on it, that was capable of shooting automatic rounds, and brings into the question all the time, like, how does these teens get their hands on these guns?
Crime was key. I mean, it was a very, very violent crime. The ages of both the shooter and the victim were young. I believe the victim at the time of the crime was 14 years old. The shooter was 17. So I think that struck a nerve with the jury. It's a gang-related case, which we're just combating down there in Spalding County, and I think jurors are just fed up with it. They hear this over and over and over, and they've just had it with this kind of thing.
And that's what'll get you shipped up the road. So they're saying that this was all gang-related in some sense of the nature. Not sure if both individuals were a part of a gang, but someone within this case was a part of a gang. And as he just said, the jurors are going to be people who are within the community, and someone has to be an example. It's sad to say, but when these type of incidents happen, they have to make an example out of somebody. And this kid was definitely made an example of, based off his actions, based off the decisions that he made, and those decisions has, him looking at never ever, living a normal life again. And as I say in, other videos of this nature, when it's involving shooting or someone, murdering someone, is it ever worth it? Is it ever really worth you losing your life? I mean, of course you took a life, but you also lose your life. You will never be able to, bear children, or if you do have children, you'll never be able to see them grow up and spend time with them, and just be able to be there for them. So, and it also is going to have effect on the family of the victim as well as, your family. So, and a lot of times, man, when these teens are influenced by gang culture, um, they're more than likely to go out and do these type of things like, murders, robberies, just all type of things like that. Just either try to further the gang or try to, boost up their rank in the gang. And, this is the path that it leads down to, you're either going to die or you're going to end up in jail for a very long time. And, I honestly don't feel like it's worth neither nor. So, do I feel like teens are watching the news and seeing this type of stuff and seeing these examples being made of people? No. And that's one of the main reasons why I bring this type of content to social media and to my YouTube platform, because, maybe they'll be strolling and they'll come across it and they'll see it, and maybe it'll register with them because they'll see, it's a teenager within the caption or the title of the video, and they may stop and look at it for a second, and if it's only one person in the world, then it helps somebody, but maybe they'll turn their life away from those type of things, because if you have a brain on your shoulder, then you will realize this is typically where it ends up. Either you're going to be the victim, you're going to be the person being sent to jail. So it you don't really see too many gangsters just riding off into the sunset. And if they do, they're not as gangster as they claim or portray to be, or they just smarten up and then they just change their lives. But if you're actively participating in any type of gang activity, um, you're just lowering your chances of survival or your chances of living a normal life.
What played for the jury in terms of the victim, 14 years old? And it seems to me that maybe his family had moved him down there to get him away from gang violence.
That's correct. He had only been in Griffin about 3 weeks, had been moved from Clayton County to live with family in Spalding County, just because of the violence in their neighborhood.
And that's a shame, man. The family moved the 14-year-old victim like 3 weeks prior to him being shot and killed away from where he actually, was, raised. Because the violence and the gang violence in that area was just so prominent that they wanted to get him away from it. And it just so happened to still follow him, and that's the sad part about, like, you know, honestly, the black community, man. That's the sad part, is that majority of the people within gangs are going to be African American or black, and yeah, I mean, this is exactly the type of results that happen from that. Um, Very, very tragic, man. The family was trying their best to keep this kid alive, and this ended up happening.
Yeah, let's talk about the victim a little bit. Emmanuel Dorsey, 14 years old at the time. His family had moved him from Clayton County. He'd only been in Griffin 3 weeks before he was killed. They moved him from Clayton because his family told Fox 5 at the time, that they were worried about gang violence in Clayton. So they moved him to Spalding County, and then he is killed in gang violence there 3 weeks later outside this football game in September of 2023. As you heard acting DA David Studdard say, gang violence has been a problem for many years down in Spalding County. I can tell you, here on Fox 5, we have covered a number of cases of gang violence in the Griffin-Spalding area. Tom?
It's
And it's something that I don't feel like it'll never go away. The only way that it'll go away is if, people who are higher in rank or leaders within that gang, decide not to, like, recruit new members, or bring new people within it, and just allow it to dissipate as it can, because once you get younger people into it, then it just keep the ball rolling, keeps the fire burning, as they say. And yeah, very, very tragic story. Family tried to move this kid away, and the kid still was, you know, wrapped up into it. So just wanted to, do a video on this again. Maybe someone, will see this, and they may be actively participating in gang activity, or thinking about participating in gang activity, and just decide not to, because they want to live their life and not be institutionalized, and you know or in the grave at an early age. But I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this one up. If you like my content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. This is Justin Paul. Peace.